Today's program is about a debate between Prophet Muhammad and some of the Jews of Medina who were quizzing him about the direction of prayer for the Muslims. The background was that on God's command, the Muslims had always been praying in the direction of the holy Al-Aqsa mosque in Jerusalem for the 13 years that they were in Mecca. Then they came to Medina and continued with this practice. They were praying like this for 16 or 17 months, and then some extremists among the Jews started to make fun of Prophet Muhammad. They said to him,
"Don't you think it's odd that you Muslims are praying in the same direction as us Jews? We also pray towards the mosque in Jerusalem."
Prophet Muhammad then received a revelation from God telling the Muslims to change their direction of prayer so that they faced the Kaaba in Mecca. The Jews who had made fun of the Muslims before now approached the Prophet, hoping to ridicule him again, and were wondering why all of a sudden they were praying in a different direction. They asked him,
"Why have you Muslims changed the direction you pray in after 14 years? So you have been praying in the wrong direction for 14 years? Are you now praying in the correct and truthful direction?"
Prophet Muhammad replied that they had been following the truth before and that they were following the truth now because they were following God's commands both times. He said that when God saw that it was in the interests of the Muslims to pray in the direction of the east, he made the direction for the prayer in the east. And when he saw that it was for the benefit of the Muslims to pray in the direction of the west, he changed the direction of prayer to that direction. The Prophet gave the Jews the analogy of how the Jews were working every day and then suddenly stopped working on Saturdays and worked on the remaining days of the week. Did that mean that the Jews were doing something wrong on the previous days and that they did the correct thing on Saturdays? Or was it the other way around, that their working on the other days was correct and that they were doing the wrong thing on Saturdays? The Jews replied to the Prophet,
"No, both are correct. It's correct for us Jews to work from Sunday to Friday and also to rest on Saturday."
Prophet Muhammad told them that it was exactly the same with the direction of prayer for the Muslims. The previous direction for prayer was truthful, as was the new one. The Jews then asked another question.
When you say that God ordered first the one thing and then another, does that mean that God regretted his initial decision?
Prophet Muhammad explained to them, God did not regret his decision when he made the new order to the Muslims. God is aware of all consequences and knows all the benefits and disadvantages of everything. God makes no mistakes to cause regret and change of mind. The Prophet asked the Jews to consider the example of when God gives a person an illness and then cures him. That does not mean that God changed his decision. Similarly, he pointed out how God gives life and takes it away, and that this does not mean that God changed his decision either. The Jews then said to the Prophet,
"Yes, we can see that this is the case. You are correct."
The Prophet brought them another example. He said, "How about the change in the seasons? Does not God bring about summer after winter and winter after summer? And does this change in the seasons mean a change in God's decision?" The Jews' response to this,
"Of course that doesn't mean that God has changed his decisions."
Prophet Muhammad reminded them how God had ordered people to wear clothes to keep their body warm in winter and protect it from heat in summer. The Jews said to this,
That's true. These two orders don't mean that there has been a change in God's decisions.
The Prophet then summed up for all of them the wisdom behind all of God's orders. God knows that at one time a certain thing is of benefit for man, and that at another time a different thing might be of benefit for him. He has this knowledge at all times, and therefore he might make new orders to benefit his obedient servants more.